Hello and welcome, thank you for joining me. My name is Richard Clark and on this video I'll be talking about human clear fluid. That's the fluid that human beings have inside of us. This includes all fluid that is clear. That would be the fluid around the brain, fluid such as the tears, sweat, saliva, and it would also include the fluid that surrounds a baby in the mother when the woman's pregnant. Now, as I've said in other videos, this fluid is attacked by insects. I can't be an insect to understand how they see things or look at things, but it seems to me this is a preventative measure. It is the insect's way of preventing human beings from threatening what is in the human being. The insect seems to perceive that there is insect material in whatever form it is in, such as larva, any kind of deposit the insect has made in the feed that animals feed on, the dead bodies or the dead material of insects, it would include that. And it's also the material that insects put into people directly through biting. Now, a lot of this material comes from or gets into the human being through animals. As I've said on previous video, animals graze, and they graze not just on grass but everything that is in the grass. That would be dead insects, larvae, chrysalis, anything to do with the insects, maybe even live insects. And this material gets into the food chain, and by the consumption of animals such as cows, sheep and goats, which are grazing animals, which also masticate, chew the cud, as I've said before. This is an important point. By consuming the meat of these animals, it gets into the human beings. And the insects, flying insects, seem to be able to detect this. They detect that this material is in people, in the stomach, obviously, and from the stomach it's distributed throughout the body. But the insects seem to be able to detect this material in people, so they move to protect it. And they protect it by fashioning a bite, a particular kind of bite that neutralises that which can harm this insect material. Now, what can harm this insect material is, in my view, a more superior form of what is considered to be the immune system. And the immune system, as we understand it, or as it's generally understood, and I'd like to stress I'm not a scientist or a doctor, I can only say what I've read, usually on the internet. But my understanding is the immune response comes from the bone marrow, and it involves antibodies that physically attack invaders such as viruses, bacteria and so on. Now, what's puzzling here is that this immune system, what's generally regarded as the immune system, cannot deal with energy. It does not appear to be able to deal with energy. And insect material has a vast amount of energy. Even dead insects still have this not energy going through them, but it's like an energy dimension. There is this access to this energy. And so many illnesses and diseases, I'm thinking of cancer now especially, are tremendously powerful energy illnesses. The actual cancer, the multiplying of the cells, isn't that much of a problem. The real problem, from my point of view, and again I'm not speaking as a doctor, but the real problem is this energy, which is phenomenal. So we have a situation where we have a lot of illnesses, usually chronic long-term conditions, that are tremendously powerful in energy. They have tremendous energy, that it seems our conventional immune system, the one that we're aware of, cannot deal with. Now this just seems to be nonsense. The human body can deal with just about anything. It is a marvellous mechanism. It is absolutely incredible. I've been studying it all my adult life, and what I've found not only is amazing, but it's also the amount I find is minuscule compared to what there is to find. It just goes on and on, which is fine. It's a good hobby. But we have a situation where the immune system cannot deal with energy. But I believe that the body has a mechanism for dealing with energy, and by energy I mean energy that's coming from outside, which is harmful, toxic and damaging, such as from insects, but not limited to insects. It could be powerful viruses, bacteria, moulds, fungal infections, it could be anything. But the body has a means of dealing with energy, and that energy is the clear fluid of the body. Now it has other functions. One of the functions that I mentioned in the previous video was this ability to communicate. It communicates information through contact. So when the clear fluid in one human being makes contact with the clear fluid in another human being, information is passed through this contact. This is like what I'm thinking of here is the child in the womb. Information about the environment that the child will be living in is passed into the child from the mother, because the mother has gained these experiences which have become part of her, that have gone into the fluids of her body, and by making contact with the growing baby, which is surrounded by clear fluid, as I understand it, in the womb, contact and the exchange of information is passed. Now this isn't verbal information, obviously there's no language involved, but there is a transmission of knowledge or understanding about the kind of environment that the baby will be living in. Now it's a similar situation with the brain. It's surrounded by fluid which enables it to communicate with the body and for information to pass. It's a two-way thing. It passes from the brain to the body and from the body to the brain. Now this fluid also travels down the spine. It's also in the spine, this clear fluid, and that's important. So I think that this fluid is what is a threat to the insect material, is the real threat, and in my mind this fluid really is the alpha version of the immune system. What we consider to be the immune system seems to me to be just a mechanical process that deals with physical problems, the more physical aspect. And physical to me is always what you can see. If you can see it, it's physical. If it responds in a physical way, like mind to me is physical because it can be mapped, it can be analysed, studied and all the rest of it. If it can't be seen, it's not physical, and then it enters the realm of perception, and that's when you need perception, which is what everything I do is about. It's always about perception. What is perceived? The two work together. They don't exclude each other. One's not better than the other. but they're two halves of the whole. You need both. My problem with society as it is, as I perceive it, as I understand it, is that we only focus on the seeing. And we take the view that if we don't see it, it doesn't exist. That's nonsense. We need to develop the ability to perceive, or to regain the ability to perceive. Now, the insect perceives, or whatever it is, whatever mechanism is going on inside the insect, that the threat to insect material in the human body is from the clear fluid. Now, this fluid can only work, can only operate when it is clear. When it has contaminants which colour it, it can't work. It doesn't work. This is why I think illnesses quite often, or always, have a colour. Pus is yellow or green, and when a thing is seriously ill, it might turn black. And the colour prevents the clear fluid from working. The bags that I use in my healing methods are clear plastic bags, clear. If the plastic bags had any colour at all, that would interfere with the process of working. It could not, the energy from the body could not be drawn through. Light can pass through transparent bags, clear bags, so energy passes through. Yeah? So when it's clear, energy can pass through, so the medium works. There is a communication. So it's this clear fluid that is the real frontline defence to invasive energy. It's this fluid. And it can only work when it flows. It has movement within it. It has movement within it. When it's static, it doesn't work. So the insects perceiving this have realised that this is a threat to insect life. Insects do not seem to discriminate against different species. It seems like we're all in this together. We're all one. There is a lot more social cohesion with insects than there are with humans. Insects will act to help all insects. Right. So it doesn't matter what material is in a person. An insect will act to protect it, and it protects it by needing to neutralise the ability of the clear fluids. Now, I'm using the word fluid as opposed to water because water, as it is, this is not the fluid I'm talking about. When we drink water, it becomes the fluid because the fluid contains the energy, the imprint, the character of the person that it's in. It becomes a fluid when it's in the human being and takes on characteristics, abilities. So it might be an exercise in perception to take a sip of water, to hold it in your mouth and to try and feel it changing, to try and feel it or perceive it, absorbing the heat, absorbing the life, absorbing the energy of the person who is drinking, and then to slowly let it go down the throat and feel the changes as it progresses. The throat imparts or gives or adds its content to the water, and the water, as it progresses through the body, absorbs more and more of the body's energies and abilities, and it becomes a fluid, and then it goes round into the body. And when it's clear, as I say, it has certain properties. Blood, for instance, this is not the function of blood. Blood is red, so that eliminates it as a medium for doing this. It cannot act as clear fluid, although it does act in many other different ways. That's its function. So it is what it is. It's very much horses for courses, and blood is red because that's its function. That suits its function. So the insect, going back to this, the insect perceives that clear fluid in a human being is a threat, so if they have fashioned a biting insects, we call them gnats, probably they're mosquitoes, but they bite and they inject in the bite some insect DNA. Now this DNA is vibrating very, very fast, very, very high pitched. And that gets into the fluid, the clear fluid, near the brain. It has to be in the head. Right? It has to be in the head area. So it's probably the person's been bitten in the neck or this part of the body, and it migrates around the brain in the fluid of the brain. Obviously we get bitten in other areas of the body, and perhaps they're producing other problems. But what I'm looking at is this bite that enters the clear fluid around the brain, that is vibrating very highly, very quickly, and what it does is it neutralises the clear fluid's ability to act by making the clear fluid static. Right? It can only work when it's moving. When it's static, it can't work, and that is what takes down the defence to the invasive energy. Not as any kind of illness. The more I look at these long-term chronic illnesses, the more I realise there is no threat, there is no attack, there isn't an illness that says, right, I will go into this person and I will give them multiple sclerosis, or I will give them cancer, or whatever it is. It is an unfortunate series of events that bring about a certain result in a body, which by no means makes it any worse for the person who's got it. But we need to see what these things are clearly, what their structure is, what their nature is, to break them down, to analyse them part by part by part. Looking for the weak link, looking to see how to break the chain. Right, so with the situation with cancer, there's this tremendously powerful energy. And that comes in from insect material that's got in through the stomach. It's combined in the stomach, in my view, with what I refer to as the death power or the regeneration power, depending where it is in the cycle. But it's definitely two energies that are combined. I think they combine in the stomach, and it seems to me that they are both alien. They are not human energies. Definitely the insect material, its energy signature is insect. No two ways about it. Not in my view. Right, so we've got this very powerful energy that has got in through the stomach. Now it probably wouldn't be so bad. It's bad, but it wouldn't be so bad if the abilities of the clear fluid weren't deactivated to get rid of the energy. But once that bite gets in, then things start to get very bad, because this energy, then there's nothing to restrain it. And that's when you get these serious illnesses. Now this is just the groundwork. For instance, with Parkinson's disease, I detect two different insect bites. The first one that deactivates the ability of the clear fluid, and a second one which is much more on the surface. It's much more on the surface. But whatever happens, it happens after the first bite. The first bite that deactivates the clear fluid's ability to act, and the insect bites the human to preserve or protect the insect material that it detects in people. That's why it does it. It's a defensive measure, protective. This isn't to try and justify it in any way, but it needs to be looked at clearly, exactly what it is. Right, now then, what happens next? Well, as I see it, a lot of long-term chronic conditions are built on this foundation of these different insect bites. Once the body has got in and damage, or once this bite has got in and damage starts to spread, then other things can get in, such as viruses and bacteria and moulds, fungal infections, but these are very much second or third tier. Second or third tier. The primary thing with all bad health, with all insect damage, with all damage to the body is insects. It starts with insects. Right, so what happens? Well, what I've developed, as I said before, is a method whereby I've taken healing with energy, step 1, which uses the charcoal filters, the washing tabs, liquid tabs they call them here, the solid bleach and the batteries in a bag. It's very important they're in a clear bag. And I've replaced the carbon filters with silica gel bags. And I got these online. I think they're 4 ounces, 100 grams of silica gel, and I've replaced the carbon filters with these bags. Now, silica gel is the material that comes in electrical equipment. That's where I've seen it. You get these tiny bags in electrical equipment that absorb the moisture out of the air, and that's where I'm familiar with it. Right. Now, we need bigger bags. They're not that expensive, they're online, and the silica gel in a bag placed on the back of the neck, 3 bags, one on the back of the neck, between the shoulder blades and in the lower back, neutralise this insect bite. They neutralise the insect bite that's harming or stopping the clear fluid from working. Right. They need to be on for about 2 hours at a time, over 3 sessions, a few days apart. So that now, I will post a method on this, but that now becomes healing with energy step 1 using the silica gel, and what was step 1, which is the carbon filters, becomes healing with energy step 2, because it's still very important. Now, what I've noticed is after a few months of using these bags, the clear fluid recovers and starts to deal with the toxic energy of whatever's in the body, and it could be any kind of energy. If like this happened when a person was very young, they got bitten, and then all these different energies build up from viruses, from bacteria and moulds and insect material, and this stuff can give rise to all kinds of things, all kinds of chronic long-term conditions that are disabling, or it could be something still pretty bad but not as bad, such as migraines, asthmas, rheumatoid arthritis. They're all energy based. The more I get into this stuff, year after year, the more it's what's left is energy based. If it's not energy based, science would have wiped it out. They wiped out, what was it, polio, smallpox? They've wiped out these things because they are physical ailments without a great deal of energy. But when there is powerful energy, the energy has to be dealt with. And the only thing that can deal with this energy, the mechanism in the human being, is the clear fluid. Nothing else can do it. There's no energy technique from outside that can do it. The only thing that can do it is to get the clear fluid working again by neutralising the insect bite that's in there, causing the damage. Well, it's not damage, it makes it go static, as I say. So that's the situation. Now, once the clear fluid starts to recover, it starts to deal with all these energies, and that was quite interesting. That was very interesting, because it takes on the aspect of water going down out of a sink through the plug hole. There is it's a whirlpool effect. There is a whirlpool effect as the energy is dumped out of the body, mostly out of the brain. Most of these things, if you notice them, always seem to affect the brain. Now, the brain is the primary driver of the immune system and a lot of other functions in the body. So it seems logical, it's not, I don't like looking at these things from a logical point of view much, but it seems logical that these illnesses, these energies are going to attack the brain, because again, if you can take down the brain's ability to protect the body, the illness can take another step forward. So there's always seems to be an attack on the brain, and the brain always seems to be under threat from these energies such as migraines and epilepsies and a lot of other things. Right, so the clear fluid starts to deal with these energies, and it starts to send them down the spine, which is interesting, down to the spine in a whirlpool effect. There is a kind of spinning. I think as the clear fluid starts moving again, this is how it deals with these energies. It literally spins them out, and they go down the spine and they're dumped into a kind of holding area in between the shoulder blades. There's a huge energy storage area between our shoulder blades where all this stuff is dumped. And this seems to be an emergency measure. It's much better from the body's point of view not to let these things in. I think, as I've said before, this clear fluid generates an energy field around a person that protects us very much from invasive energies, that is energies from outside, harmful toxic energies from getting in. Right. Now once that goes down, because of this insect bite, they get in and there's no mechanism in the body to deal with these energies. But once it starts to recover, once the insect bite has been neutralised, then these energies can be dealt with, and it's dealt with in an emergency fashion, which is to get them away from the brain. It's the cry of existence is to protect the brain. This is a survival thing. Protect the brain at all costs. It doesn't matter what else gets lost, the arms, the legs, whatever, but the brain must be protected, and to do that it dumps the energy out around the brain or near the brain into this holding area into the back. Now that was a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. Now what it seems is there's a lot of illnesses. I'm thinking of lupus, which I worked on years ago. That was solid. That energy was solid in the back. And also obviously asthma is another one. There's probably a lot more. But that means that what it looks like is the body, the insect bite doesn't neutralise the clear fluid straight away. It's not like that. You get bitten, that's it, it's gone. It seems to happen over a period of time, and in that time the fluid is still doing its best to push out the harmful energy. So it's a gradual process. So the shield of the body has gone down, the energy can get in, but the fluid is still active enough to push out this invasive energy into the holding area. That would explain why the illness, such as I said, lupus or asthma, all these illnesses come afterwards. They come after. They're not an illness that causes a problem. The problems are all there, and then this is how, because I was always puzzled, why does this energy, or how does this energy get into that area, get into that part of the body? It's, you know, it's absolutely solid. And I think that's the process. That's the process. The brain gets rid of it and dumps it into this holding area. So the next thing is how to get it out of there, how to get rid of it from there. Unless, this is as far as I've gone, this is as far as my perception has taken me at the moment. But it'd be interesting to see what comes next. So the other methods, the healing with energy methods, where the toxic energy is drawn out, now play an important role. Before I come to this idea, this understanding of the clear fluids and the silica gel, I was trying to draw out the bad energy, the toxic energy, with the healing methods that I've got, healing with energy methods. And that's fine, they work up to a point, they get good results. But it always puzzled me how this situation occurred, where it came from, and why the body couldn't sort it out itself. But now there's been a movement forwards, a greater understanding. There's a new number 1 healing with energy method which takes care of that problem that's perceived at the moment. So the secondary methods, the secondary methods are dealing with this clogging up of the body of energies to recover and all the rest of it. How to recover and all the rest of it. Right. Quite a lot on this one. If you got this far, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I shall upload this one. I've got the feeling there's a lot more to talk on this, but at the moment that's it for now, and thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me on the next video. Thank you very much. Cheerio.